come here to be educated.
Oh, I hate being educated. Well,
So do I, but dear Gertrude is always telling me I should have a serious purpose in life, so I come here to find one.
I don't see anybody tonight whom one could possibly call a serious purpose. Oh, good evening, Lady Chiltern. Mabel, has my good-for-nothing son been here?
I don't think Lord Goring has arrived yet.
Why do you call Lord Goring good for nothing?
Because he leads such an idle life.
How can you say such a thing? He goes riding every morning, to the opera 3 times a week, changes his clothes 5 times a day, and dines out every night.
How charming you are!
Sweet of you to say that, Lady Caversham. Do come see us more often.
Oh, never go much of anywhere now. Sick of London society. Oh,
I love London society. It is entirely composed of beautiful idiots and brilliant lunatics.
Oh, dear Gertrude, so kind of you to let me invite my friend, Mrs. Sheevley, to your gathering. 2 such charming women should know each other.
I think Mrs. Sheevley and I have met before.
Really, Lady Chiltern? I can't imagine where.
We were at school together.
Indeed? Oh, I'd forgotten all about my school days. I had a vague impression they were detestable. I am looking forward to meeting your husband, Lady Chiltern. Since he has been at the Foreign Office, he's been so much talked of in Vienna.
Oh, good evening, Lady Markby. I hope you have brought Sir John with you.
Oh, I have brought a much more charming person than Sir John. Sir John's temper, since he has taken seriously to politics, has become quite unbearable.
Well, who is this charming person?
Her name is Mrs. Sheevley. She has just arrived from Vienna.
Mrs. Sheevley. I seem to know the name. Pray, point out Mrs. Sheevley to me.
Let me introduce you. My dear, Sir Robert Chiltern is dying to know you.
Everyone is dying to know the brilliant Mrs. Sheevley. Our attachés at Vienna write to us about nothing else.
Oh, thank you, Sir Robert. An acquaintance that begins with a compliment is sure to develop into a real friendship. I find I know Lady Chiltern already. We were at school together. She always got the good conduct prize.
And what prizes did you get, Mrs. Sheevley?
Oh, my prizes came a little later in life. And I don't think any of them were for good conduct.
What makes you leave Vienna for London? Or perhaps the question is indiscreet.
Questions are never indiscreet. Answers sometimes are.
May I know if it is politics or pleasure?
Oh, politics are my only pleasure.
What makes you honor London? Our season is almost over.
I wanted to meet you and to ask you to do something for me.
Well, do tell me what it is.
Later. Now, may I walk through your beautiful house? Baron Arnheim used to tell me you had some wonderful Corot's.
Did you know Baron Arnheim well?
Intimately. Did you?
At one time, he was remarkable in many ways. Good evening, Arthur. Mrs. Sheevley, allow me to introduce you to Lord Goring, the idlest man in London.
I have met Lord Goring before.
I did not think you would remember me, Mrs. Sheevley.
My memory is under admirable control.
Are you staying in London long?
That depends. Partly on the weather, partly on the cooking, and partly on Sir Robert.
You are late.
Have you missed me?
Awfully.
Then I'm sorry I did not stay away longer. I like being missed. I want to ask you a question. Who brought Mrs. Sheevley here? That woman who's just gone out with your brother.
No, I think Lady Markby brought her. Why do you ask?
I've not seen her for years, that's all.
What sort of woman is she?
Oh, a genius in the daytime and a beauty at night.
Oh, I dislike her already.
Well, that shows your admirable good taste.
Are you coming to the music room?
Not if there is any music going on, Miss Mabel.
Well, sir, what are you doing here? You should be in bed. You keep too late hours. I heard of you dancing until 4 a.m. the other night.
Only a quarter to 4, Mother.
Can't make out why you love London society so much. It's a lot of silly nobodies talking about nothing.
I love talking about nothing, Mother. It is the only thing I know anything about.
You seem to be living entirely for pleasure.
What else is there to live for, Mother? But nothing ages like happiness. Good evening, Lady Markby.
Are you here? No, I had no idea you ever came to political parties.
I adore political parties. They're the only place left where people don't talk politics.
Oh, I adore talking politics, but I can't bear listening to them. Oh, I don't understand how the men in the House can stand long debates.
By never listening. Well, if one listens, one may be convinced. And a man who allows himself to be convinced by an argument is a thoroughly unreasonable person.
Ah, that accounts for so much in men I have never understood, and so much in women their husbands never appreciate in them.
And that is the view of a woman who's known to have one of the most admirable husbands in London.
He is quite hopelessly faultless. I have married a perfect husband, and I am well punished for it.
I should have thought it was the husband who was punished.
Oh dear, no! He is as happy as possible. And as for trusting me, it is tragic how much he trusts me. I saw you talking to that Mrs. Sheevley when you came in.
Handsome woman, Mrs. Sheevley.
Well, I am not going to praise her. I hear she said London society is entirely made up of dowdies and dandies.
She's quite right, too. Well, the men are all dowdies and the women are all dandies, aren't they?
Oh, do you really think that is what Mrs. Sheevley meant?
Of course. And a very sensible remark for Mrs. Sheevley to make.
Everybody is talking about Mrs. Sheevley. Lord Goring says she's a genius in the daytime and a beauty at night.
Oh, what a horrid combination, so very unnatural.
Ah, that is morbid of you, Lady Markby.
Is it morbid to have a desire for food? Lord Goring, will you get me some supper?
Oh, I have a curious feeling of absolute faintness. I am positively dying for supper.
May I have the honor of taking you down for supper, Lady Markby?
Thank you, Lord Goring. I never touch supper, but I will sit with you and watch you.
I don't think I like being watched when I'm eating.
Then I will watch someone else.
I want to talk to you about the Argentine Canal Company. I know you're interested in international canal schemes. You were Lord Radley's secretary when the government bought the Suez Canal shares.
Yes, but the Suez Canal was a splendid undertaking. It gave us our direct route to India. This Argentine scheme is a stock exchange swindle.
Speculation, Sir Robert. A brilliant, daring speculation.
It is a swindle. We have all the information about it at the Foreign Office. I hope you have not invested in it.
I have invested very largely in it.
Who could have advised you to do such a foolish thing?
Baron Arnheim.
Ah, yes. I remember hearing he had been mixed up in the whole affair. I fear I have no advice to give you, Mrs. Sheevley. I'm going to lay the report before the House tomorrow night.
Oh, that you must not do, Sir Robert.
What do you mean?
I want you to withdraw the report. I want you to say the government is going to reconsider the question, and you have reason to believe the canal will be of great international value.
You cannot be serious.
If you do what I ask, I will pay you very handsomely.
Pay me? I'm afraid I don't understand you.
Sir Robert, you are a man of the world. You have your price.
You have lived so long abroad, Mrs. Shively. You seem unable to realize you are talking to an English gentleman.
I realize I am talking to a man who laid the foundation of his fortune by selling to a stock exchange speculator a cabinet secret. I know the real origin of your wealth and your career, and I have your letter too.
What letter?
The letter you wrote telling the Baron to buy Suez Canal shares, a letter written 3 days before the government announced its own purchase. You thought the letter had been destroyed. How foolish of you. It is in my possession.
The affair to which you allude was no more than a speculation. The House of Commons had not yet passed the bill.
It was a swindle. And I will sell you that letter, but the price I ask for it is your public support of the Argentine scheme.
I cannot do what you ask me.
It is not for you to make terms. It is for you to accept them. Supposing you refuse.
What then?
Well, you are ruined. You would be hounded out of public life. Years ago, you did an unscrupulous thing, and now you must pay for it. Before I leave, you must promise me to speak in the House in favor of the scheme.
What you ask is impossible.
Suppose when I leave, I drive down to some newspaper office and give them the scandal and the proofs of it. Think of the delight they would have in dragging you down.
Stop! You want me to withdraw the report and make a short speech stating I believe there are possibilities in the scheme.
Those are my terms.
You said you'd give me back my letter.
Yes. If you make an announcement to the House in the terms I wish, you shall have your letter back.
I consent. The report shall be withdrawn.
Thank you. I knew we should come to an amicable agreement. And now you can get my carriage for me, Sir Robert. I see the people coming up from supper.
Well, Mrs. Shively, I hope you've enjoyed yourself. Sir Robert is very entertaining, is he not?
Most entertaining. I have enjoyed my talk with him immensely.
Oh, he has had a brilliant career. And Lady Shilton is a woman of the very highest principles. I myself never trouble to set a good example, but I always admire people who do. And now I must go. Oh, shall I call for you tomorrow? We might take a ride in the park. Oh, good night, Gertrude.
Lady Shilton, I've spent a delightful evening. It has been interesting getting to know your husband.
Why did you wish to meet my husband, Mrs. Shively?
I wanted to interest him in the Argentine Canal. I converted him in 10 minutes. He's going to make a speech in the House tomorrow night in favor of the idea.
There must be some mistake.
Oh, it's all settled. I don't regret my journey from Vienna now. Oh, I see Sir Robert beckoning me. My carriage must be here. Good evening, Lady Shilton.
What a horrid woman.
You should go to bed, Miss Mabel. My mother told me to go to bed an hour ago. I always pass on good advice. It is the only thing to do with it. It is never of any use to oneself.
Lord Goring, I am not going to bed for hours. Come and talk with me about anything in the world, except Mrs. Shively. Oh, what is this? Someone has dropped a brooch. Quite beautiful, isn't it?
I wonder who dropped it.
It's a beautiful brooch. What are you doing?
Don't mention to anybody that I have this brooch. Should anyone claim it, let me know at once. I gave this brooch to someone once, years ago.
You did? Then I shall certainly bid you good night. Good night, Gertrude.
Good night, dear. You saw whom Lady Markby brought here tonight.
Yes, it was an unpleasant surprise. What did she come here for?
To try and lure Robert to uphold some fraudulent scheme, the Argentine Canal.
She's mistaken her man, hasn't she?
She is incapable of understanding an upright nature like my husband's.
Yes, I should fancy she came to grief. What astounding mistakes clever women make.
I don't call women of that kind clever.
Good night, Lady Chiltern.
Arthur, you're not going. Do stop a little.
Afraid I can't. See you soon.
Robert, you are going to lend your support to this Argentine speculation?
Who told you I intended to do so?
Mrs. Shively. We were at school together. She was evil. She was sent away for being a thief. Why do you let her influence you?
Gertrude, it happened many years ago. No one should be entirely judged by their past.
One's past is what one is. It is the only way by which people should be judged. What did she mean she got you to lend your support to a thing I have heard you describe as the most fraudulent scheme ever in political life?
I was mistaken in the view I took.
But you told me you had received the report and it condemned the whole thing.
I have reasons now to believe the commission was misinformed. Besides, public and private life are different things.
They should both represent man at his highest.
In the present case, on a matter of practical politics, I have changed my mind.
Robert, are you telling me the whole truth?
Gertrude, truth is a very complex thing, and politics is a very complex business. One may be under certain obligations to people that one must pay. Sooner or later in public life, one must compromise.
Compromise? Robert, why do you talk so differently tonight from the way I have always heard you talk? Why are you changed?
I am not changed, but circumstances alter things. It is a question of rational compromise.
That is all very well for other men, but you are different. To the world, you have been an ideal. Robert, is there in your life any secret dishonor or disgrace?
Gertrude, there is nothing in my past that you might not know.
But why did you say those dreadful things? You will write to Mrs. Shively and tell her you cannot support this scheme. Let your letters show that your decision is irrevocable. She must know you are not a man to do anything dishonorable.
Gertrude.
I will have the letters sent to the Claridge Hotel. Oh, Robert, I feel tonight I have saved you from something that might have made men honor you less than they do.
Robert, you should have told your wife the whole thing. No man should have a secret from his wife. She invariably finds it out.
Arthur, I couldn't tell my wife. She would have turned from me in horror and contempt.
You should have told her years ago.
Do you think she would have married me if she had known I had done a thing most men would call dishonorable? Men who have worse secrets in their own lives.
That is the reason they are so pleased to find out other people's secrets. It distracts public attention from their own.
I had private information about a certain transaction contemplated by the government, and I acted on it. Arthur, is it fair the sin of one's youth should shatter all that I have worked for? I was 22. I had the double misfortune of being well-born and poor.
Life is never fair, Robert.
Every man of ambition has to fight his century with its own weapons. And what this century worships is wealth. To succeed, one must have wealth.
You underrate yourself, Robert. Without wealth, you could have succeeded just as well.
When I was old, perhaps. I wanted my success when I was young.
Well, you certainly have had your success. The youngest ever Under Secretary of Foreign Affairs. That's good enough for anyone, I should think.
And if it is all taken away from me now?
How could you have sold yourself for money?
I did not sell myself for money. I bought success at a great price.
And what made you think of doing such a thing?
Baron Arnheim. One night after dinner, the Baron expounded on the philosophy of power. He told me power over other men was the one thing worth having. And in our century, only the rich possessed it.
A thoroughly shallow creed.
I didn't think so then, and I don't think so now. Wealth has given me enormous power. It gave me freedom, and freedom is everything. You've never been poor. You cannot understand what a wonderful chance the Baron gave me.
Tell me, how did the Baron persuade you finally to do what you did?
He said if I ever could give him any private information of real value, he would make me a very rich man. I was dazed at the prospect. My ambition was boundless, and 6 weeks later, certain documents passed through my hands.
I had no idea you could have been so weak as to yield to such a temptation.
Weak? There are terrible temptations. It requires strength and courage to yield to. I had that courage. I sat down that same afternoon and wrote Baron Arnheim the letter this woman now holds. He made £750,000 over the transaction.
And you?
I received £110,000. That money gave me power. I went into the house immediately. The Baron advised me in finance. Before 5 years, I'd almost trebled my fortune. Since then, everything I've touched has turned out a success.
Did you never suffer any regret for what you had done?
No! I felt the century with its own weapons and won. Do you despise me?
I am sorry for you, Robert. I will help you in whatever way I can.
Thank you, Arthur. But what can be done?
Well, the English are very fond of a man who admits he's been in the wrong. However, in your case, a confession would not do. The money is awkward. A confession would ruin you.
It would ruin me. The only thing for me to do now is fight.
It is the only thing to do. Begin by telling your wife the whole story.
That I will not do. Mrs. Shively, how can I defend myself against her? You knew her before, Arthur. Did you know her well?
So little, I got engaged to her once.
Why was it broken off?
Oh, I forget. Have you tried her with money? She used to be very fond of money.
I offered her any sum she wanted. She refused. I feel public disgrace is in store for me. I never knew what terror was before.
Robert, fight her. Everyone has some weak point.
I shall send a telegram to the embassy at Vienna to inquire if there's anything known against her. There may be some secret scandal she might be afraid of.
Oh, Mrs. Shively is one of those very modern women who find a new scandal as becoming as a new bonnet.
I will have my man send the wire as soon as possible. I will fight her to the death as long as my wife knows nothing. As soon as I hear from Vienna, I shall let you know. She looks like a woman with a past, doesn't she?
Most pretty women do. Robert, I should not fancy Mrs. Shively a woman who would be easily frightened.
I feel like a man on a ship that is sinking. You've been a good friend to me, Arthur.
I don't know that I've been able to do much for you, Robert, yet.
You've enabled me to tell you the truth. That is something.
Ah, the truth is a thing I get rid of as soon as possible.
I would to God I'd been able to tell the truth. Hush! I hear my wife's voice.
Good afternoon, Lord Goring.
Good afternoon, Lady Chiltern. Have you been in the park?
No, I have just come from the Women's Liberal Association. I have come in to have tea. You will wait and have tea, won't you?
I'll wait for a short time, thanks.
You are going, Robert.
I have some letters to write, dear.
You work too hard, Robert. You look tired.
It is nothing, dear.
I am so glad you called. I want to talk to you.
About Mrs. Shively?
Yes. Last night, I found out what she said was true. I made Robert write her a letter withdrawing his promise.
So he gave me to understand.
To have kept it would have been the first stain in a career that has been stainless. Robert must be above reproach. No one, except myself, knows Robert better than you. He has no secrets from me, and I don't think he has any from you.
He certainly has no secrets from me.
Am I not right in my estimate of him?
My dear Lady Chiltern, I think in practical life there is something about success that is a little unscrupulous. Once a man has set his heart and soul on getting to a certain point, if he must climb the crag, he climbs the crag. If he has to walk in the mire, he walks in the mire.
Why do you look at me so strangely?
Perhaps you are a little hard in some of your views on life. In every nature there are elements of weakness. Life cannot be understood without much charity. Lady Chiltern, if ever you come to me for assistance, you shall have it.
Lord Goring, you are talking quite seriously. I don't think I ever heard you talk seriously before.
Oh, you must excuse me, Lady Chiltern. It won't occur again if I can help it.
Good afternoon, Lord Goring. Pray be as trivial as you can.
I should like to, Miss Mabel, but I am a little out of practice this morning. Besides, I have to be going now.
Oh, will you ride tomorrow morning?
Yes, at 10. Goodbye, Lady Chiltern. You will remember what I said, won't you?
Yes, but I don't know why you said it.
I hardly know myself. Goodbye, Miss Mabel.
Oh, I wish you were not going. I have had 4 wonderful adventures this morning. You might stop and listen to some of them.
How very selfish of you to have 4. There won't be any left for me.
I don't want you to have any.
That is the first unkind thing you've ever said to me. 10 tomorrow.
Ah, Gertrude, I wish you would speak to Tommy Trafford. Tommy really does nothing but propose to me. He proposed to me last night. He proposed to me this morning. At luncheon, I saw by the gleam in his eye that he was going to propose again, and I just managed to check him in time. Gertrude, tell him that once a week is often enough to propose to anyone.
Robert thinks very highly of Mr. Trafford. He believes he has a brilliant future before him.
Oh, I wouldn't marry a man with a future for anything under the sun. You married a man with a future, but you have a noble, self-sacrificing character. I have no character at all. I must go now to rehearse at Lady Basaldon's. For you remember, we're doing a tableau, the triumph of something. I hope it will be the triumph of me, which is the only triumph I'm interested in at present.
Dear Lady Markby, how nice of you to come.
Oh, dear Gertrude, we just called to see if Mrs. Sheevely's brooch has been found.
Yes, I missed it when I got back to Claridge's, and I thought I might have dropped it here.
I have heard nothing about it.
Oh, pray don't trouble Lady Shelton. I dare say I lost it at the opera before we came here.
Ah, yes, it must be at the opera. And we all scramble and jostle about so often these days. I wonder if we have anything left on us at the end of an evening. Oh, our society is terribly overpopulated. Someone should arrange a proper scheme of assisted emigration.
I quite agree with you, Lady Markby. It is nearly 6 years since I've been in London, and I must say society has become dreadfully mixed. One sees the oddest people everywhere.
Oh, that is true, dear. I'm sure I don't know half the people who come to my house.
What sort of a brooch was it, Mrs. Sheevely?
A diamond brooch. It's really of no consequence, Lady Shelton.
Oh, I once lost a bracelet Sir John had given me. Oh, I don't think he has given me anything since. The horrid House of Commons quite ruins our husbands. I think the lower house is the greatest blow to a happy married life since that terrible thing called the higher education of women.
Ah, it is heresy to say that in this house, Lady Markby. Robert is a great champion of the higher education of women, and so am I.
Ah, the higher education of men is what I should like to see. Men need it so sadly.
Oh, they do, dear. Oh, but I don't think man has much capacity for development. He has got as far as he can, and that is not far, is it? Now, with regard to women, well, dear Gertrude, if you approve it, I'm sure it is all right. Modern women understand everything, I am told.
Ah, except their husbands. That is the one thing the modern woman never understands.
And a good thing too, dear. It might break up many a happy married home if they did. Oh, not yours, Gertrude. You have married a pattern husband.
Should I order tea?
Oh, no thanks, dear. I promised to go round to see poor Lady Brancaster. Now, like all stout women, she looks the very picture of happiness. But there are many tragedies in her family. Now, I shall leave Mrs. Sheevely in your charge and call back for her in a quarter of an hour. Oh, or perhaps Mrs. Sheevely wouldn't mind waiting in the carriage while I'm with Lady Brancaster. As I intend for it to be a visit of condolence, I shan't stay long.
I don't mind waiting in the carriage at all.
Oh, I hope Mrs. Sheevely will stay here.
Ah, how kind of you, Lady Shelton. Nothing would give me greater pleasure.
Ah, no doubt you both have many pleasant reminiscences of your school days to talk over. Goodbye, dear Gertrude. Shall I see you at Lady Bourne's tonight? She has discovered a wonderful new genius. He does. Nothing at all, I am told.
Robert and I are dining at home tonight.
Dining at home by yourselves? Is that quite prudent? Oh, I forgot. Your husband is the exception. Mine is the general rule, and, well, nothing ages a woman quite so much as having married the general rule.
Wonderful woman, Lady Markby, isn't she? Talks more and says less than anybody I've ever met. She's made to be a public speaker, much more so than her husband.
Mrs. Sheevely, quite frankly, had I known who you were, I should not have invited you to my house last night.
Oh, I see that after all these years, you have not changed, Gertrude.
I never change.
Then life has taught you nothing?
It has taught me that a person who has once been guilty of a dishonorable action may be guilty of it a second time and should be shunned. any further acquaintance between us during your stay in London is impossible.
Gertrude, I don't mind your talking morality. Morality is simply the attitude we adopt towards people we dislike. You dislike me, and I've always detested you. And yet, I have come here to do you a service.
Like the service you wished to render my husband last night. Thank heaven, I saved him from that.
It was you who made him write that insolent letter? You made him break his promise?
Yes.
Then you must make him keep it. I give you till tomorrow morning, and if your husband does not solemnly bind himself to help me in this scheme...
You are impertinent. What has my husband to do with you?
In this world, like meets with like. And it is because your husband is himself fraudulent and dishonest that we pair so well together.
How dare you class my husband with yourself? Leave my house.
A house bought with the price of dishonor, in which everything has been paid for by fraud? Oh, ask him to tell you how he sold to a stockbroker a cabinet secret. Learn from him to what you owe your position.
It is not true, Robert.
No, you have done your worst.
I am not finished with either of you. I give you both till tomorrow, and if you don't do what I bid you to do, the world shall know the origin of Sir Robert Chiltern.
You sold a cabinet secret for money. You began your life with fraud. You built your career on dishonor. Tell me it is not true.
What this woman said is quite true. Gertrude, you don't realize how I was tempted.
Don't come near me. You put yourself up to sale to the highest bidder. I made you my ideal.
There was your mistake. You made a false idol of me, and I had not the courage to come down and tell you my weaknesses. Last night, you ruined my life. What this woman asked of me was nothing compared to what she offered. Security, peace, stability. And now, what is there before me but public disgrace?
Lady Chiltern's handwriting on Lady Chiltern's notepaper. What has Lady Chiltern got to say to me? I want you. I trust you. I am coming to you. Gertrude. So, she's found out everything. But what an hour to call! 10 o'clock. She should be here soon. I must tell my man I'm not into anyone else. Oh, no, Mother! Oh, why will parents always appear at the wrong time? Some extraordinary mistake in nature, I suppose. Ah, delighted to see you, Mother dear.
Thank you. No draught, I hope, in this room. I can't stand draughts. No draughts at home.
Good many breezes, though, Mother.
Eh? I've come to have a serious conversation with you.
At this hour?
Oh, well, sir, it's only 10 o'clock. I think the hour is an admirable hour.
Well, the fact is, Mother, this is not my day for talking seriously. During the season, I only talk seriously on the first Tuesday in every month from 4 to 7.
Well, sir, make it Tuesday. Make it Tuesday.
But it is after 7, Mother, and my doctor says I must not have any serious conversation after 7. It makes me talk in my sleep.
Talk in your sleep? What does that matter? You are not married, sir. And that is what I have come to talk to you about. You must get married at once. Why, when your father was your age, he had already been an inconsolable widower for 3 months and was paying addresses to me. Bachelors are no longer fashionable. They are a damaged lot. Oh, look at where your friend Robert Chilton has got through hard work and a sensible marriage with a good woman. Why don't you imitate him?
I shall, Mother.
Oh, I wish you would, sir. You're almost 40 years of age.
Yes, Mother, but I only admit to 35.
You are almost 40, sir. Oh, and there is a draft in this room. I feel it distinctly. Oh.
So do I, Mother. It is a dreadful draught. I will come and see you tomorrow. We can talk over anything you like.
No, sir. I have called this evening with a definite purpose, and I am going to see it through regardless of the cost to my health or yours. Oh.
Certainly, Mother, but let us go into another room. I think there is a good fire in a small parlor. Go in there, Mother. Your sneezes are quite heartrending.
Well, sir, I suppose I have a right to sneeze when I choose.
Quite so, Mother. I was merely expressing sympathy.
Oh, sympathy. There is a great deal too much of that going around these days.
I agree with you, Mother. If there was less sympathy in the world, there would be far less trouble in the world.
That is a paradox, sir. I hate paradoxes.
So do I, Mother. Everybody one meets is a paradox nowadays. It is a great bore.
Do you really always understand what you say, sir?
Yes, Mother, if I listen attentively. I must tell my man a lady is coming to see me this evening, and he must show her into my drawing room when she arrives. I must be sure he understands no one else is to be admitted under any circumstances. Ah, that probably is the lady.
Well, sir, am I to wait attendance on you?
In a moment, Mother.
His man said Lord Goring is home, but presently engaged with Lady Caversham. It almost sounded as if Arthur is expecting me. What an interesting room. Correspondence. Bills, cards, debts. Oh, I know this handwriting. I remember it perfectly well. I wonder what Gertrude is writing to him about. Something horrid about me, I suppose. I trust you. I want you. I am coming to you, Gertrude. I trust you. I want you. I am coming to you.
My dear Mother, if I am to get married, surely you will allow me to choose the time, place, and person, particularly the person.
You would probably make a poor choice. It is not a matter for affection. Affection comes later in married life.
Oh, it sounds as if they are coming in here. Oh, I don't want to see Lady Caversham. I'll just slip into another room.
Yes, in married life, affection comes when people thoroughly dislike each other, Mother, doesn't it?
Certainly. Oh, I mean, certainly not. You are talking very foolishly tonight. What I want to say is that marriage is a matter for common sense.
But women who have common sense are so curiously plain, aren't they?
Oh, you are heartless, sir.
I hope not, Mother. Please, let me show you out.
Oh, no.
Arthur, what good luck meeting you on the doorstep. Your servant told me you were not at home.
I am horribly busy tonight, Robert. I gave orders. I am not at home to anyone. Even my mother had a comparatively cold reception. She complained of a draft the whole time.
You must be at home to me, Arthur. You are my best friend. Perhaps by tomorrow you will be my only friend. My wife has discovered everything.
Who told her?
Mrs. Shively herself.
You've heard nothing from Vienna yet?
I got a telegram tonight. Nothing is absolutely known against her. She occupies a rather high position in society. What should I do? My life seems to have crumbled about me.
Robert, you love your wife, don't you?
I love her more than anything in the world.
Has she never in her life done some indiscretion that she should not forgive your sin?
Never. She does not know what temptation is. She stands pitiless in her perfection and without mercy.
Your wife will forgive you. She loves you, Robert.
But there is something more I must tell you, Arthur.
I will have my man find you a cab. You do not mind my sending you away?
Arthur, you must let me stay for 5 minutes. I have made up my mind what I'm going to do tonight in the house. What was that?
Nothing.
I heard a chair fall in the next room. Someone has been listening.
No, there is no one there.
There is someone. Someone has been listening to every secret of my life.
Robert, I tell you, there is no one in that room.
If there's no one there, why should I not look at that room? My life is at stake. I will know who it is to whom I've told my shame.
Great heavens! His own wife!
What explanation have you for the presence of that woman here?
On my honor, the lady is guiltless of all offense toward you. It was for your sake that she came here. She loves you.
What have I to do with her intrigues with you? She, corrupt and shameful. You, a false friend.
It is not true, Robert. In her presence and yours, I will explain all.
Let me pass, sir. You have lied enough tonight upon your word of honor.
Good evening, Lord Goring.
Mrs. Shively, what were you doing in my drawing room?
Oh, listening? I have a perfect passion for listening through keyholes.
I'm glad you've called. I'm going to give you some advice.
Oh, pray don't. One should never give a woman anything she cannot wear in the evening.
You've come to sell me Robert Chilton's letter, haven't you?
How did you guess?
Have you got it with you?
Oh, no. A well-made dress has no pockets.
What is your price for it?
Oh, my dear Arthur, I have more money than you, and as much as Robert Chilton. Money is not what I want.
What do you want, Mrs. Shively?
Arthur, you loved me once. You asked me to be your wife.
That was the natural result of my loving you.
And you threw me out because you said you saw poor old Lord Mortlake trying to have a violent flirtation with me.
I'm under the impression my lawyer settled that matter on terms dictated by yourself.
Oh, at that time I was poor and you were rich.
Quite so. That is why you pretended to love me.
You are silly, Arthur. Lord Mortlake was never anything more to me than an amusement. I loved you, Arthur.
My dear, you have always been far too clever to know anything about love.
I did love you, and you loved me. You know you loved me. When I saw you last night, I knew you were the only person I'd ever cared for. I'd ever cared for anyone, Arthur. And so on the morning of the day you marry me, I will give you Robert Chilton's letter. That is my offer. I will give it to you now if you promise to marry me.
Are you serious?
Yes, quite serious.
I should make you a bad husband.
Oh, I don't mind bad husbands. I've had two. They amuse me immensely.
You mean you amused yourself immensely, don't you?
Do you think it's quite charming to be so rude to a woman in your own house?
In the case of very fascinating women, sex is a challenge, not a defense.
Then you are going to allow your friend, Robert Chiltern, to be ruined rather than marry someone who really has considerable attractions left. I thought you would rise to some great height of self-sacrifice, Arthur.
Self-sacrifice is a thing that should be put down by law. It is so demoralizing to the people for whom one sacrifices oneself. They always go to the bad.
As if anything could demoralize Robert Chiltern. You seem to forget. I know his real character.
What you know about him is not his real character. It was an act of folly done in his youth. Oh, dishonorable, I admit, but not his true character.
I suppose this romantic interview is at an end. For the privilege of being your wife, I was ready to surrender my diplomatic career. You decline? Very well. If Sir Robert does not uphold my Argentine scheme, I shall expose him.
You must not do that.
It is a commercial transaction. I offered to sell Robert Chiltern a certain thing. He won't pay my price. He will have to pay the world a greater price. I must go.
Your transaction with Robert Chiltern may pass as a loathsome transaction of a loathsome age. But you went this afternoon to the house of one of the most noble women in the world, to degrade her husband in her eyes and to put bitterness into her life. That was horrible.
Arthur, you are unjust to me. I called with Lady Markby simply to ask whether an ornament I had lost had been found at the Chilterns. The scene that occurred was really forced on me by Gertrude's rudeness. I called a little out of malice, if you like, but really to ask if a brooch of mine had been found.
A diamond brooch?
Oh, yes. How did you know?
Because I found it. This is the brooch, isn't it?
Yes, I'm so glad to get it back. It was a present. It looks very well on me.
To me, it looks very much the same as when I saw it last.
Oh, when did you see it last?
10 years ago on Lady Berkshire, from whom you stole it.
But what do you mean?
You stole this ornament from my cousin, Mary Berkshire. I gave it to her when she married. I recognized it last night. I determined to say nothing until I'd found the thief. I have found the thief and I've heard her confession.
It's not true.
You know it is true. Thief is written across your face.
I will deny the whole affair. I will say I've never seen that wretched thing. It was never in my possession. What are you going to do?
I'm going to ring for my servant, and when he comes, I will tell him to fetch the police.
The police? What for?
Tomorrow, the Berkshires will prosecute you.
Oh, don't do that.
Give me Robert Chiltern's letter.
I have not got it with me. I will give it to you tomorrow.
You are lying. Give it to me at once. This is it?
Yes.
Mrs. Healy, you have moments of admirable common sense. I congratulate you.
Thank you. I'm never going to try to harm Sir Robert Chiltern again. On the contrary, I'm going to render him a great service.
I am charmed to hear it. It is a reformation.
Yes, I cannot bear so upright a gentleman being so shamefully deceived. I find that Gertrude Chiltern's confession has strayed into my possession.
What do you mean?
I mean, I'm going to send Robert Chiltern the love letter his wife wrote to you tonight.
Love letter?
I want you. I trust you. I am coming to you, Gertrude.
You wretched woman, must you always be thieving? Give me back that letter.
Good night, Lord Goring.
Well, sir, wasting time as usual.
My dear mother, one pays a visit for the purpose of wasting other people's time, not one's own. I cannot find anyone in this house to talk to. Robert is still at the Foreign Office and Gertrude has not yet come down.
Have you been thinking over what I spoke to you about last night?
I've been thinking about nothing else.
Engaged to be married yet?
Not yet, but I hope to be before lunchtime.
Oh, you can have until dinner time if that would be of any convenience to you.
Thanks, but I think I would sooner be engaged before lunch.
Did you read the Times this morning?
The Times? Certainly not. I only read the Morning Post.
You have not read the Times' leading article about Robert Chiltern?
Good heavens! No, what does it say?
Your father tells me it was everything complimentary. Chiltern's speech last night on the Argentine Canal scheme was one of the finest pieces of oratory ever delivered in the House.
Ah, did Chiltern uphold the scheme?
Oh, he denounced it roundly. According to your father, this speech is the turning point in his career. The Times called him a brilliant orator with an unblemished career that represents the best in English public life. They will never say that about you, sir.
I sincerely hope not, Mother. However, I am delighted about Robert.
I wish you would go into Parliament.
Mother, only people who look dull ever get into the House of Commons, and only people who are dull ever succeed there.
Why don't you try to do something useful in life?
I am far too young.
Why don't you propose to Miss Chiltern?
I am of a nervous disposition, especially in the morning.
I don't suppose there's the smallest chance of her accepting you. If she did, she would be the prettiest fool in England.
That is just what I should like to marry. A thoroughly sensible wife would reduce me to a condition of absolute idiocy in less than 6 months.
You don't deserve her, sir.
My dear mother, if we men married the women we deserved, we should have a very bad time of it.
How do you do, Lady Caversham? I hope Lord Caversham is quite well.
Ah, Lord Caversham is as usual.
Good morning, Miss Mabel.
Oh, are you here? Of course you understand that after breaking your appointment, I am never going to speak to you again.
Oh, please don't say such a thing. You're the one person in London who I really like to have listen to me.
Lord Goring, I never believe a single word you say.
You are quite right, my dear. Quite right.
You possibly think you could make your son behave a little better?
Oh, I regret to say, Miss Chiltern, I have absolutely no influence over my son.
I'm afraid he is one of those terribly weak natures that's not susceptible to influence.
He is heartless. heartless.
It seems I'm a little on the way here.
It's good for you to know what people say about you behind your back.
I don't like knowing what people say of me behind my back.
My dear, I really must bid you good morning.
Oh, I hope you're not going to leave me here all alone with Lord Goring.
I'm afraid I can't take him with me to pick up his father at Downing Street. It is not the Prime Minister's morning to see the unemployed.
People who don't keep their appointments at the park are horrid.
Detestable.
I'm glad you admit it, but I wish you wouldn't look so pleased about it.
I can't help it. I always look pleased when I'm with you.
Then I suppose it is my duty to remain with you.
Of course it is.
Well, my duty is never a thing I do on principle, so I'm afraid I must leave you.
Oh, please don't, Miss Mabel. I have something very particular to say to you.
Is it a proposal?
Well, yes, it is. I'm bound to say it is.
Oh, I'm so glad. That makes the second today.
The second today? What conceited ass has been so impertinent as to propose to you before I proposed to you?
It is one of Tommy Trafford's days for proposing. Tommy always proposes on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Well, you didn't accept him, I hope.
I make it a rule never to accept Tommy, but today I very nearly said yes. It would have been an excellent lesson for both of you and taught you better manners.
Oh, bother Tommy Trafford. I love you.
I know. I'm sure you've mentioned it before. I've probably given you heaps of opportunities.
Mabel, please be serious.
That is exactly the sort of thing a man says to a girl before he marries her, but he never says it after.
Mabel, I told you I love you. Can't you love me a little in return?
You silly Arthur. If you knew anything about anything, which you don't, you would know that I adore you. I have been going on and on over the last 6 months to the whole of London society, telling them how much I adore you.
Yeah. Do you know I was awfully afraid of being refused?
But you have never been refused yet by anybody, have you, Arthur?
Of course, I'm not nearly good enough for you, Mabel.
I'm so glad, darling. I was afraid you were.
And I'm a little over 30.
Dear, you look weeks younger than that.
How sweet of you to say so. And it is only fair to tell you frankly, I am fearfully extravagant.
But so am I, Arthur, so we're sure to agree. And now I must go and see Gertrude.
Oh, tell her I want to talk to her. I've been waiting here all morning to see either her or Robert.
Do you mean to say that you didn't come here expressly to propose to me?
No, that was a flash of genius.
Your first.
My last.
I'm delighted to hear it. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Don't fall into any temptations while I'm away.
Dear Mabel, while you are away, there are none.
Good morning, Lord Goring.
Good morning, Lady Chiltern.
I shall be in the conservatory under the second palm tree on the left.
Lady Chiltern, Mrs. Sheevley gave me Robert's letter last night. I tore it up. Robert is safe.
Oh, I am so glad. What a good friend you are.
There is only one person now that could be in danger. You.
I? In danger? What do you mean?
Yesterday evening, you wrote me a beautiful letter asking for my help. Mrs. Sheevley stole that letter.
What use is it to her?
Mrs. Sheevley puts a certain construction on that letter and proposes to send it to your husband.
But what construction could she put on it? Oh, not that! And she proposes to send it to my husband.
Mrs. Sheevley was concealed in a room adjoining my library. I thought the person waiting in that room was you. Robert came in unexpectedly. A chair fell in the room. He forced his way in and discovered her. We had a terrible scene. At the end of everything, Mrs. Sheevley had possession of your letter. How, I don't know.
At what hour did this happen?
At 10:30. Now I propose we tell Robert the whole thing at once.
You want me to tell Robert the woman you expected was me at 10:30 at night?
I think it's better he know the truth.
No, the letter must be intercepted. His secretaries open and hand them to him.
And who is with him today?
Mr. Montford.
You can trust him. He would do what you asked him.
I think so.
Then I will go and tell him a certain letter to Robert today must not reach him.
I want you. I trust you. I am coming to you, Gertrude. Oh, my love, is it true? It was for me to come to you, not for you to write of coming to me. This letter makes me feel that nothing the world may do can hurt me. You trust me, Gertrude?
Yes.
Gertrude, when Montford passed me your letter and I read it, oh, I did not care what disgrace was in store for me. I only thought you loved me still.
There is no disgrace in store for you. Mrs. Sheevley handed over to Lord Goring the document in her possession. He destroyed it.
Then I am safe. Oh, what a wonderful thing. For 2 days I've been in terror. I'm so glad now that I made that speech last night. I made it thinking public disgrace might be the result.
Public honor has been the result.
I think so. I fear so almost. I suppose, Gertrude, I should retire from public life.
Oh, yes, Robert.
You would be happy living somewhere alone with me, away from public life. You would have no regrets.
None.
And your ambition for me?
I have none now, but that we two may love each other.
Arthur, thank you. I don't know how I can repay you.
My dear fellow, I'll tell you at once. At the present moment, under the usual palm tree in the conservatory.
Good morning, Sir Robert. Lord Caversham sends his warmest congratulations to you on your brilliant speech last night. He has just left the Prime Minister, who told him you are to have the vacant seat in the cabinet.
A seat in the cabinet?
According to all the best people, you deserve it. My dear husband says you have what we want in political life. High character, high moral tone, high principles. Everything that you have not got, sir.
I cannot accept the offer, Lady Caversham. My intention is to retire at once from public life.
Retire from public life? Lady Chiltern, you're a sensible woman. Will you kindly prevent your husband from making such a... Oh, what will Lord Caversham say?
I think my husband is right, Lady Caversham. Go and write your letter to the Prime Minister, Robert.
Excuse me for a moment, Lady Caversham.
What's the matter with his family? Something wrong here? Idiocy? Hereditary, I suppose. Both of them, too. Wife as well as husband. Oh, very sad indeed.
It is not idiocy, Mother.
Oh, what is it then?
It is what is called nowadays a high moral tone.
Oh, same thing we used to call idiocy 50 years ago. Shan't stay in this house any longer.
Oh, just go in the conservatory for a moment, Mother. There is someone there I want you to talk to.
What about, sir?
About me, Mother.
Not a subject on which much eloquence is possible.
No, Mother, but the lady doesn't care much for eloquence in others.
Ah,
Lady Chiltern, why are you playing Mrs. Shively's cards?
Don't understand you.
Mrs. Shively tried to ruin your husband. Why should you do him the wrong Mrs. Shively tried to do and failed?
Lord Goring?
You wrote me a letter last night in which you said you trusted me and wanted my help. Now is the moment when you must really trust me. What sort of existence will he have if you close the doors of public life against him? Don't make a terrible mistake, Lady Chiltern.
But my husband himself wishes to retire from public life. He feels it is his duty. It was he who first said so.
Rather than lose your love, Robert would do anything, wreck his whole career. He's making a terrible sacrifice for you. Do not accept a sacrifice so great. Robert has been punished enough.
We have both been punished.
Your husband's life and love are in your hands.
Gertrude, here is the draft of my letter. Shall I read it to you?
Let me see it. I will not spoil your life, nor see you spoil it as a sacrifice to me.
My wife! Arthur, it seems I'm always to be in your debt.
No, Robert, your debt is to Lady Chiltern.
Now, tell me what you were going to ask me just as Lady Caversham came in.
Robert, you are your sister's guardian. I want your consent to my marriage with her.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Arthur, the thing is quite out of the question. I must think of Mabel's happiness. A marriage in which there is love on one side only is sure to be broken.
But I love Mabel. No other woman has any place in my life.
Robert, if they love each other, why should they not be married?
Arthur cannot bring Mabel the love that she deserves.
What reason have you for saying that?
Do you really require me to tell you?
I do.
When I called on you yesterday evening, I found Mrs. Shively concealed in your rooms. You were engaged to be married to her once. The fascination she exercised over you seems to have returned. I cannot give my sister's life into your hands. It would be unjust to her.
I have nothing more to say.
Robert, it was not Mrs. Shively Lord Goring expected last night. Yesterday afternoon, Lord Goring told me if ever I was in trouble, I could come to him for help. After that terrible scene, I wrote to him telling him I trusted him, had need of him, was coming to him for advice. Yes, that letter. I didn't go to Lord Goring's. Mrs. Shively went. She stole my letter and sent it anonymously to you this morning that you should think. Oh, I cannot tell you what she wished you to think.
What? Had I fallen so low in your eyes you thought I could have doubted your goodness? Arthur, go to Mabel. You have my best wishes.
Well, I hope she hasn't changed her mind. It's been nearly 20 minutes since I saw her last.
Lord Goring, I think your mother's conversation much more improving than yours.
What does this mean, sir? This charming young lady has been so foolish as to accept you?
Certainly, Mother. And Chiltern's been wise enough to accept the seat in the cabinet.
Oh, my husband will be glad to hear that, Sir Robert. Lord Caversham says that if the country doesn't go to the radicals, we shall see you as Prime Minister someday.
You'll stop to luncheon, won't you, Lady Caversham?
Oh, with pleasure. For what my husband says, Sir Robert, you have a great future before you. He wishes he could say the same about you, sir. But your career will have to be entirely domestic.
Yes, Mother. I prefer it domestic.
And if you don't make this young lady an ideal husband, I will see to it that your father cuts you off without a shilling.
An ideal husband? I don't think I should like that.
Well, what do you want him to be then, dear?
He can be what he chooses. I only wish to be a real wife to him.
There's a great deal of common sense in that.
Are you coming in, Robert?
Gertrude, is it love you feel for me? Or is it pity?
It is love, Robert. For both of us. A new life is beginning.